In this example, we are asked to use the tables to compare f of -1 to g of -1. And what that means is we are comparing the values of the function at -1. So that's when x is -1. So let's look at f of x first, which is this first table. And I want to find the point where x is -1, and that would be this point right here. So that means that f of -1 would equal 4. So then if we look at g of x, I want to do the same thing. I need to find that point where x is -1. Which is right here. So f of -1 in this case is going to equal +1. So finally, the problem does ask us to compare, and that means to say whether or not it's less than, greater than, or equal to. So f of -1 equals 4. Oh, I'm sorry, this should be a g of -1. And g of -1 equals 1. So obviously, the 4 is bigger than 1. So we're going to say that f of -1 is greater than g of -1. You could also say that g of -1 is less than f of -1, and that would say the same thing. But usually we want to write them in order, so this would be your answer.